The world has just witnessed Ukraine pull off a stunning counter-offensive around Kharkiv. They liberated thousands of miles of territory in what was an incredible feat of military planning. Months of distraction around Kherson were put in place, absolute radio silence around what they were doing around Kharkiv, and it was something that brought the world with them and showed that, yes, they will be victorious if we stand by them. This victory was not just thousands of miles of territory, but it hit Russian logistics. It liberated major administrative and rail hubs that the Russians have been using, and it will castrate their ability to do what they need and rely on those rail logistics throughout. As a result, we've seen a panicked response from the Kremlin, sham referendum and a partial mobilisation of 300,000 men. Now, much has been made of this mobilisation. The point I would make, though, is that you cannot magically muster kit, strategy or skilled soldiers. And we have to be careful that we challenge these arguments when we hear these big announcements from Putin that do not actually tantamount change the situation on the ground. Now, these performative referendums should be called hostage referendums because that is what they are, and it is vital that the world rejects them, and I'm confident we will. But it is years ago when we did not reject them that we saw Putin emboldened to do what he's doing today. Now, Ukrainian gains are also showing the scale of atrocities being committed by Russian troops, and it's really vital that we look at how we can support those. So, as ever, I would like to focus, Madam Deputy Speaker, on recommendations for what the government should be doing. The first is that our international justice infrastructure is not sufficient. The ICC cannot prosecute in this situation, and we need to be convening, as one of the foremost powers when it comes to security and justice, a plan for how we will hold people to account who have committed atrocities at all levels. Secondly, the point I made earlier about creating a specific court or tribunal for sexual violence and rape that gets stood up at the start of conflicts rather than just at the end when it is too late to collect evidence. One of the things we must also do is learn how we share intelligence. Back in September last year, this time last year, Britain and America went around and told our allies that Putin was going to invade. We had the intelligence, we were sure of it, and our allies didn't believe us. The French said it just wouldn't happen. Macron had too good of a relationship with Putin. The Germans said that wasn't what their intelligence showed. When I ask European ambassadors why they didn't believe us, they say it's because of Iraq. Now, that is greatly concerning to me that they are making intelligence decisions based on what happened so many decades ago when I was only a child. But it shows also that we have manifestly failed to make what was the most important intelligence analysis and argument that we needed to of the last decade. Now, Putin is no master strategist, he's a gambler. He gambled in 2014 that we turned a blind eye to the invasion of Crimea. He gambled in Syria, where we turned our backs. And he gambled in February that we would be too divided. Now, he was wrong on that. But Putin bases these decisions on a critical assumption that we have not adapted for 21st century hybrid warfare. Because we've spent the last 2 decades focused on terrorists that behave like states. But between now and 2050, it will be states that behave like terrorists that we must adapt to. And to do that, we need whole-of-state resilience, which is not easy, it's not sexy, and it will take decades to put in place. But that is how we protect ourselves and our allies in the long term. And that covers everything from investment in supply chains to defending our multilaterals and the rule of law, upholding human rights, the independence of our education institutions, our culture and our digital security. We must recalibrate. Technology and the democratisation of information have fundamentally changed geopolitics. We are at war at all times. The best enemies are the ones that we do not know that they are there. We do not know we're at war with them. Bullets, as earlier were being made the point. Conversations will be taking place, people radicalised and recruited without a single word being spoken aloud. We are not ready. Whether it is energy and food sources, whether it is business, culture, finance, military, hostile states are infiltrating us at all levels. And we have to tackle this. And we as Britain can convene our allies, because that is one of our greatest strengths, our ability to convene partners. We can convene and work together towards a more resilient society. Because if we don't double down, if we don't defend and stop neglecting our international institutions, we will further embolden Russia. And this is our responsibility if we want fair play, if we want respect for the rules-based order. The lessons from Ukraine so far, very happily.
I'm grateful for the intervention. She's making a powerful speech. Would she agree with me that on cyber resilience especially, there is a lot of good work to build on, but it needs more resource?
Without question, my friend is absolutely right. And within the military, we are building these capabilities, but they need to be cross-force. But they also need to bring in the civilians, whether based in the Foreign Office. Back in 2016, I was in Ukraine training the Ukrainians how to do counter-disinformation operations, how to integrate it with cyber. And we've seen that pay off, that work. Look at what they did over the last few weeks. But the lessons, Madam Deputy Speaker, are clear. The decisions and defences and resilience that we implement now is what will defend us over the next 20 years. And we need to make ourselves and our alliances in the international order more resilient, because only in that way will we protect ourselves. Will we return to moral leadership on the world stage? Will we stop atrocities? And we will be able to take a stand and protect ourselves from those hostile states who will spend the next 20 years using their whole state effort to undermine us and to hurt us.